This is Rafi Guzon, and you are tuned in to Nothing But That Sports Talk. I'm here with the commissioner of the Big East Conference. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Great to be here. Thanks to you for being here.
Yeah, I'm glad that I got a chance to come here and witness the whole media day landscape take place for one of the biggest conferences in college basketball. Which leads to this one question. I mean, in your own words, what do you think makes the Big East the most important conference in not just college basketball, but basketball altogether?
Well, thanks for saying that. Glad you agree, if you do. We're proud of our history. Conference has been around for 40-plus years. We've had great coaches, great players over the years. We have won championships. 3 of the last 7 men's basketball championships in college have been, Big East schools. We love playing in this building. This is a big part of our identities, being here at Madison Square Garden, which is why it's so great to be here today. And we've got great people, who care deeply about college sports, doing right by our athletes, staying really strong in the sport of basketball, which is our big sport. I think it's not one thing. It's like all those things have kind of come together to give us an identity that we think puts us in the top tier of college sports. And today, I think, is just, given the turnout we've had and the energy in the room, I think is further proof of that.
Exactly. To piggyback what you said about involving basketball in the Big East and championships, obviously UConn has been like literally the championship pedigree because last year the men's side won it all, and then like actually the year before that, at one point UConn has been to at least the Final four years in a row. Like what do you, in your words, how do you think that UConn made a major impact in college basketball?
Well, they've got a long tradition of the sport, going way back. So they've got a great pedigree, lots of success in the history of their program. They've made, significant investments in women's basketball. Coach Oriema has done a fabulous job over the last almost 40 years, coaching the women's program, one of the greatest coaches in the history of the game, not men or women, both. They've got a great fan base. People in Connecticut, state of Connecticut, love the game of basketball, so their crowds at their games are phenomenal, and that always gets a team going when your fans are behind you. They've got great national exposure, and they've got really good leadership. They've got a great AD in Dave Benedict. They've got a board of trustees that understands the importance of sports to their school. So it's kind of like a package of attributes that have all come together and created this sequence of success over the years, and then sometimes you find when you're successful, it just breeds more success. So they're on a bit of a roll here, and their successes are ours and vice versa. So it's been great to see them doing so well.
Yeah, it's great to see them doing so well, but obviously there's more to the Big East than just UConn. As not too long before that, you announced that St. John's will be hosting Villanova to tip off Big East play at the Madison Square Garden. Like, what do you think? How do you think it's going to change the whole dynamic of women's basketball by having St. John's and Villanova face off at the Garden?
Well, it's any chance you have to play on this incredible stage. New York City, it's like the bright lights of Broadway are literally here in New York City. And so having that stage, having the visibility that comes with being in this building, being on national television, I mean, all those things are what players live for, what coaches, work for. And we're just really glad that we can provide that opportunity, most of all for our athletes, because this kind of thing just doesn't come around every day. And any chance that we get to kind of give women's basketball a spotlight and a showcase and the credit and the attention that it deserves, that's our job, and so we're going to take advantage of those opportunities.
When you came into the Big East as like the commissioner, like how do you oversee many ways to evolve basketball, especially the women's side, that's just getting back the fan engagement that they've kind of lost at one point?
Well, when the league restarted back in 2013, nobody knew what to expect because it was a product of the breakup of the old Big East, where many of their schools had left. They became sort of football oriented. They went mostly to the Atlantic Coast Conference to play what they thought would be better, higher quality, more revenue producing football. So our schools were really left with an important decision, which was to sort of stick around or to go out and kind of reclaim their roots, and that's what they did in 2013. So having that alignment, having that vision by our presidents at that time, having Fox ready to step in to be the TV partner because they were launching FS1 in 2013, a lot of things came together fortuitously back in the day that led to this, this sort of setup, and here we are now 10 years later. So nobody knew back then that we would be sitting here today talking about the kinds of things you and I are talking about. I hope we can hold this together. I mean, it's not one thing that's keeping the Big East together, but the landscape is definitely shifting in terms of how schools are thinking about their futures, how important money is, how important exposure is, how important security is. And, I don't have a crystal ball on where college sports are in 5 years, but I think we've created a good setting for the schools in our league. And, hopefully the kinds of things that brought us together in 2013 and have kept us going over the last 10 years will sort of continue to be with us as we look to the future. And we can keep what we've got going here growing in every way imaginable as we look ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned 2013. There was a time where the Big East lost a lot of teams, but some of the teams, mainly UConn, and it managed to came back into the Big East. What do you mind seeing all the losses and returns for the Big East teams?
Well, UConn coming back was the one school that didn't come back in 2013. They elected to stay back in the old league, but their situation changed. They wanted to be part of what we were doing, and they joined us in 2020. So it's been amazing to have them back. Right now we're at 11 schools. Our presidents are pretty happy with that number. I don't know that we'll grow much beyond this for now, but again, it's hard to put a prediction on where college sports will land. We're seeing things now that nobody dreamed possible 5 years ago in terms of some of the conference makeups and the cross-country nature of them. So we'll see, but having UConn back has been amazing. It's win-win. I think we've helped them, they've helped us, and certainly the glue that's held all of us together, again, is the sport of basketball and the mutual interest of all of our schools in being relevant and being successful nationally, and their alignment as a group and making that happen.
Exactly. And while there hasn't really been that much competition for UConn, I've spoken to so many different teams and players from Villanova to Georgetown, asking them their perspective about why people should pay more attention to them. Why do you think that people should pay more attention to all the teams that don't really see as many success as the teams that do make it to the NCAA tournament?
Well, we try hard to make sure all of our schools have a spotlight, and we were thrilled last year that 5 of our teams made it to the tournament, and 2, UConn and Villanova, made it to the Sweet 16. So we're going to do our part. I think it's just natural that there tends to be more interest from fans and media and the like around the schools that are winning the most. It's just sort of human nature to be interested. But the good news for us is we've had a number of our programs step up. Our women's teams are making the tournament. They're making noise early in the rounds. They're beginning to build their fan bases on their campuses. So I'm hopeful. When that happens, it just sort of leads to other successes and more promotion and more attention. And I think we're on a very good trajectory right now with not just UConn but all of the other teams as well.
Exactly. And I look forward to seeing the Big East continue to evolve from this point. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me.
Great. Thanks for having me. Thanks for coming out today.
No problem. Looking forward to see how the Big East evolves.
Great. That was wonderful. Thanks a million. Thanks for waiting.